Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Today it's time for another match preview, looking ahead to a big championship clash on Wednesday night. It's West Bromwich Albion versus Sheffield United, which kicks off at 8 o'clock on the 18th of August. A nice Wednesday night kickoff, hopefully under the floodlights of the Hawthorns. That would be lovely in our second game back. Of course, in the first game back, there was a bit of a match day vlog for you. I hope you guys are enjoying that new series that has just launched on the channel. I took my camera around to the Luton game and filmed some really nice atmosphere videos, gave you my thoughts on the game as it happened, really. So, yeah, if you want to go and see that match day vlog, I suggest you check it out, because I think that's probably, in terms of production quality, I think that's probably as high as we're going to get on the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, but I think it was a good video. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, I feel like we're going for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I feel like we could do it. So if you're here and you're new and you're not been on the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel before, be sure to subscribe. 1,000 subscribers is our goal. But Sheffield United is going to be a fantastic game, obviously coming down with them from the Premier League. It's going to be a tasty encounter. I look forward to seeing what's in store. But yeah, let's get straight into this match preview for Albion and Sheffield United. What a game we should have coming up on this Wednesday night, under the floodlights, hopefully at the Hawthorns for the first time since welcoming ourselves back to the ground. Obviously, first game was last week at the Hawthorns for the season at Luton Town, which we won 3-2. If you haven't seen that match reaction podcast with Callum, who joined me for that one, and a bit of fan reaction from the Luton fans as well, make sure you go and check that out. I feel like it's a pretty decent listen. You can listen to it on Apple Podcast, on your Spotify provider, whatever podcast provider, or you can listen and watch it on YouTube in terms of video form as well. So if you want to go and see that, there's probably some links in the description. There's probably cards popping up all up here throughout the video. So if you want to see that, make sure you check it out. But yeah, let's get straight into this game, because Sheffield United obviously started a bit clumsily, I think is probably the word for it, this season. They haven't particularly impressed anybody really with their play at all. So the first game of the season Sheffield United had was a 1-0 loss against Birmingham City. Obviously, we know we beat Birmingham City 4-0 in a friendly, which I think, it obviously doesn't count for too much. But Sheffield United are a good side, and they've got a lot of Premier League / very high Championship quality players. In fact, I'd probably go as far to say they've got one of the best squads in the Championship. But for me, I think they do lack a little bit of creativity, in my opinion. I think there is a lot of good workman midfielders in there. There's some very decent strikers as well. And obviously a very good set of fullbacks and some very good centre-backs and a decent Championship goalkeeper, or potentially Premier League goalkeeper, and Aaron Ramsdale as well. So I think they've got a good side. I just think that they've got things all wrong. I mean, against Birmingham, I think that we spoke about this on the podcast in our little preview ahead to Sheffield United, but I think it was they've been playing quite a different style of play. Obviously, Chris Wilder taught them to play on the break, keep the ball moving. They had 76% of the possession at Birmingham, but I think they played a little bit of pace on the wings. They played Lys Mousset and Ollie Burke. Obviously, those who have supported Albion and seen him play will know exactly what he's not about, and he'll probably end up doing something on Wednesday night, because he always seems to try when we come round. But so they went for pace in the Birmingham game. Well, Slavisa Jokanovic went for pace. Slavisa Jokanovic, obviously former Fulham manager, Serbian manager as well. So he's a very good Championship manager, as we've seen, and could potentially transfer them to the Premier League with a good style of play. However, they decided to go for pace against Birmingham, who are obviously going to defend deep. Obviously, if you see Birmingham play, they've got some very workmanlike midfielders. They've got quite a deep line when they play against these bigger teams. And they ended up just nicking a goal and sitting back, and they played pace, Sheffield United. What you needed there is creativity and quick ball movement, but they were too slow in possession. It's a bit of a transition from being in the Premier League. I think I get that for Albion, I get that for Fulham as well. We're playing so many games out of possession, so many games as the underdog, so many games having to play a different way. However, I think, it's just such a transition from coming down from the Premier League and then going straight up to the Championship. I just think it's so different, because obviously you're coming into a different, it's a completely different thing. You're playing one. You're almost playing a different play style. You're coming from the Premier League, where you're having to really work hard and then to keep in the game, and then all of a sudden the ball's passed to you in the Championship, and it's your turn to take the game to another team. It's a really difficult transition, and I can sympathise a little bit for those those sorts of things. I think it's a very difficult way to look at things. But personally, I think it's interesting to see the way that Sheffield United have taken to the Championship, because they've been pretty slow in possession. Obviously, Swansea was one where they struggled to get a hold on the game, but they still couldn't make anything of the game either. They've got so many. It's almost like they've got too many options up front. So they've got Lisa Mousset, they've got Ian Brewster, who scored goals at Championship level many times before. Well, on that occasion with Swansea before. David McGoldrick, almost a veteran now in the Championship. Then we've got players like Billy Sharp, who have scored goals for fun in the Championship as well. They've got Holly Burney, who scored 20 plus goals in the Championship before. They've got a real armoury of Championship strikers, very good Championship strikers, top scorers almost candidates. But I don't know whether they can get this mix right. It's almost like having too many good players around, and it's going to cause issues. I think that the problem is that it just causes too many issues, and you look at it, and yeah, I think it's quite difficult, to be quite honest. I'm a bit worried. It's difficult, to be honest. I mean, you look at the games that Albion have played, and it's a complete contrast to Sheffield United. They've got almost too many players that are going to do a good job at Championship level, and it must be incredibly headache-ing decision for Slavica Jokanovic to pick one, or just pick a few, because he's ended up playing in the last game. They almost played 3 strikers. They played Billy Sharp, Ian Bruce, David McGoldrick. They played Ollie Burke on the wing as well, and it's just an odd combination. I think they've got a very good side, don't get me wrong, and I think their back line is solid as anything. Obviously, they've only conceded 1 goal, we've conceded 4, but I'm just thinking, if they go for pace against us, that could cause us some problems, because they may have to play on the break when we're getting forward. But last season's Premier League meetings between West Brom and Sheffield United were both won by the home side. So we won 1-0 the first time, Sheffield United won 2-1 the second time, and I just think it's so close between Sheffield. It's very fine margins to try and get themselves wins in this league, especially now they've changed their play style. Now they're trying to keep the ball a bit more. I think Sander Burge played pretty well in the first game against Birmingham City. I watched that one, but apparently he got real pelters against Swansea, which is worrying, because he's meant to be Premier League quality. I think that we just need to, in terms of looking at the game from our side of things, I think we just need to take the game to them. They're obviously going to be competitive. They're obviously going to be meeting lots of teams in the middle, really. But when they get the ball, can we press them out of it? Because they've been moving the ball too slowly. So why don't you rush them? Try and rush them to make mistakes. And I think that's what we're going to try and do. But I just worry about the high line. If they opt for pace, opt for Ollie Burke, unfortunately, I think it's going to be quite difficult, because obviously you've got players that are pushing up, and then you've got Ollie Burke who could run in behind Ian Brewster, who's quick enough on his own to run in behind. It's quite a difficult combination. It's a difficult balance as well to get right with Valérien Ismaël, because you don't want to differ too much from the philosophy, do you? You don't want to think, right, yeah, I think that's quite difficult. You look at the side and you think, is Valérien Ismaël going to differ from that philosophy? Is he going to try to change things? I don't think he will massively, but I do think he has to do some little tactical tweaks. It's just whether he's adaptable. I trust him and I trust his judgment, but he just needs to be adaptable. He needs to not be so. He needs to make sure that he's not rigid in his thinking, because obviously, if you're rigid in your thinking at Championship level, teams will find you out. It happens a lot. I mean, it happens a lot on Football Manager. When you've played a tactic for so long, teams just work it out. Other teams just know what to do with you, and I just hope that doesn't happen with Valérien Ismaël, because I know he's a better manager than that. I know he's got the ability to change things. I just hope he's not that rigid in his approach that it ends up causing us some problem in terms of our back line and our high line. I think that could cause some difficulty for us. But however, I do trust in Ismaël. I do trust what he's got planned. In terms of my line that I go for the game, I'm going to make a little change to the one that we played last week. So I'll start with Johnson in goal. I thought he played really well. I'll start with Matt Clark at left centre-back, then centre-back in the middle, we'll go for Bartley, then right centre-back, I'll pick Dario Sheikh, he's been really solid for us. Wing-backs, Townsend and Furlong, they pick themselves, I think. Then centre-midfield, Livermore and Moa. And then up front, in the front three, I'm going to go for Karlan Grant, Callum Robinson, and I'm going to go for Matt Phillips. I feel like Grady Dean Garnett has done an okay job with his pressing, but I just think on the ball he hasn't really offered enough and not as much as the other two. So I'd go personally for Matt Phillips and just give him a try. I think Dean Garnett may suit us slightly better as an impact sub for this particular match, because there's a chance he could just get marked out of the game by the very good fullbacks that Sheffield United occupy. And in terms of the score prediction, if I'm going to give you one now, obviously I'd like you to give me yours in the comment section below. I'd love to hear them. I'm going to go for I think I said 1-0 on the podcast, so I'm going to say 1-0. I'm just trying to remember what I said because I don't want to differ from different. I'm going to say 1-0 Albion. I'm going to say a goal from Matt Clark. He looked very close to scoring last time, and Simon Sluga kept him out many times. So I'm going to say he's going to get the goal today, tomorrow, in the game against Sheffield United. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Hope you guys are too. There'll be a matchday vlog being filmed for that one, so make sure you keep your eye out for that. That'll be up as soon as I can, really, as soon as I can edit it all. And then obviously the podcast will be up the day after, match reaction podcast featuring a bit of opposition reaction as well. But before we exit the video, make sure you subscribe, make sure that you're clicking the notification bell if you want to get notified every time we upload. Drop a like on the video, comment down your score predictions, and I'll see you in the next video on the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel. Goodbye.